Okay.
Welcome everyone. Sean Cornett here, National Consultant, St. Louis, Missouri. Great to have you. I've got a distinguished guest on the line, one of the individuals in Ambit Energy that I respect among the most, Mr. Shark. Some of you know him as pastor, and some of you know him as coach, but I like the Mr. Shark portion myself. So welcome to the call, Kenny. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Shark. Glad to be on your call.
Shark, baby. I love that line. I'm going to start using that myself. You've got such an incredible story, but I don't necessarily think today is the day to go into the details of your story. Most people know that. What I would love to focus on, what should I go by? Should I go by pastor, coach, Shark, Kenny? What are we going for today?
Call me anything, just don't call me late for lunch, okay?
We won't do that. Well, hey, Pastor Kenny, one of the topics that I know we're both very passionate about is this idea of speed over strategy. And personally, I think that it's something that's been lost over the years, the urgency of the speed over strategy. We kind of had in the early years of Ambit, and I think that was part of the, one of the keys to our momentum and our growth in those early years is just the urgency of the speed over the strategy, because we were growing and expanding in so many territories, so quickly. There was that inherent degree of urgency that if you didn't get out there and get it, somebody else was. And I think that some of that's been lost. And so I'm so excited that we're going to be focusing on bringing back the old school. So share with me your thoughts on that topic, if you would.
Speed versus strategy is something that's dear to success in network marketing, because one thing you have to understand is that if you don't do all you can do, then you won't have massive success in the beginning. The question is whether you want to have a short-term degree of success that comes quickly, or you want to have long-term, 3 to 5 years. Okay, and today most people, Sean, don't want to wait 3 to 5 years to start making a little extra money. So speed is the only thing that can get the plane off the ground. As you launch your business, you have to move with speed. You got to have that all you can do is all you can do mentality. And unfortunately, too many people have this kind of part-time mentality. Well, I'm working part-time, so I'll just go to one meeting. I'll just go to one conference call. I'll skip this big event. And what happens with that is they're not doing enough. But if they would do more and work harder with urgency and say, you know what, I'm going to condense this run down to 30 days. For the next 30 days, I'm going to do all I can do. I'm not going to worry about strategy, because strategy is a killer. When you look at strategy, Sean, that's like saying, well, I'm going to hold this guy, put him in later on. I'm going to kind of go to one meeting a week. Well, the guy that goes to 4 meetings a week is just going to win. That person is going to have better odds. And so when you go with speed, you increase the odds of success. Myself, we ran. We were doing all we could do. We saw this as the energy gold rush. We saw this as, man, we got to get out here and do this thing. And now we're top 50, top 20. Those things that happen, and it can happen to everybody on the phone, on the view today, just simply saying, I'm going to do more. I'm going to forget about the results and just be action-minded. I can't control the results, but I can control my actions. I can control how many meetings I do, how many 3-ways I do, how many one-on-ones I sit down at. If I do that, and I do it repeatedly, I'm going to win. Good things are going to happen. I'm going to have a chance to find a superstar that'll come into my business, and we can together change our lives when we move with speed.
Absolutely. Cannot agree more on all of those fronts. And, what would you say to somebody that says, well Pastor, I only have part-time to give to the business?
That's a good question, Sean. You really have more time than I think most people give themselves. What they really want to say is, I've given my time to some wrong things. I've given my time into some things that I'm really dear to, and I don't want to give them up. That's really what they're saying, because we have time. When you look at the fact that every person can succeed because every person's been given 24 hours. So you can't say I don't have time. You have to say, well, I've given my time to some things right now that don't pay well. Give myself my time to some things. I promise to do this. And if you're going to win, you have to kind of trim back somewhere. Some people say my plate's full. Well, take something off your plate. Maybe readjust some things. Maybe have a few days, even if you can't do it every day. So you know what? On Wednesdays, I'm going to put 3 hours in. And on Fridays, I'm putting 4 hours in. But I can't do anything on Monday because I got this. I can't do anything on Tuesday because I'm dedicated to this. Start shifting some things around. Another thing they could do, if they want to, is get up a little earlier. Sleep is overrated. They say, you know what, I'm 8 hours sleep. You don't need 8. Do 6 and take the other 2 hours and put it into your business.
It reminds me of a book I've read. I think the chances are good that you have as well. I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn. He has a book called Seasons of Life. Have you heard of that book, Kenny?
I have heard of that one. Incredible.
What you're saying reminds me so much of that book, Seasons of Life. And for those of you that may not be familiar with it, first of all, I recommend you get familiar with it. By the way, the last 4 pages of that book are probably the 4 most powerful pages in print that I have ever read for motivation. But leading up to that, the basic concept is that there's a season of life to everything, and when you get involved in Ambit, and Steve doesn't like using the word get involved. It sounds like you're getting in a drug deal or something. We don't get involved in Ambit. We're starting a business here, but in any case, that's a season of life. That's springtime. It's planting season, and if you're a farmer and you're planting, baby, you are working sun up to sun down because you have to, because that's your season.
Yes.
And that's the season. If you're just getting started in Ambit, you got to take advantage of that season of your life, and you might have to make some sacrifices. That may not be fun, may not be easy, but that's the season. And if you want the harvest, baby, you got to put into planting. So, great book, highly recommend it. The other thing, I don't know about you, but Pastor, I think a business is a whole lot more fun and actually a whole lot easier to build fast than slow. What would you say to that idea that, contrary to the sort of common norm that people say, well, this is a business you build slowly over time. Now, I don't want to project this as a get-rich-quick type of thing by any stretch.
Right.
But what would you say to the idea that is the business easier or harder to build fast versus slow?
You know what? It's so much more fun to build it fast than to build it slow. We want it faster. We're in a speed age, the age of speed. Internet can't go fast enough. We want things fast, and so it's more rewarding to get something fast. It's kind of like when you have a Band-Aid on, and you want to rip it off. You don't want to rip it off slow. You want to rip it off fast, right? Get the pain over with. And also, we have been misled to think that slow and steady wins the race, and slow has never won any race. Can you tell me one race that slow won? So fast, speed is the answer. You got to go fast. So here's how I look at it. Nothing's wrong with being a marathoner, but there are sprinters. You got sprinters and the marathoner. Now, the marathoner, they know they're going to hurt for a long time. They're going to be running forever. Oh man, I'm hurting. Boy, my chest, we got to get them a second wind and so forth. They know that it's going to be a long journey, and it's going to be a long, treacherous journey, and it's going to be tough. But the sprinter knows that it's going to be a short run. I got to just give all I can give for these next 100 yards or next so many meters, and it's sweeter. So we say it this way, we said, yard by yard, everything's hard. Meter by meter, it gets a little sweeter. But inch by inch, everything's a cinch. I think that we just have to make sure that you say, you know what? When do I want this? When do I want time freedom? When do I want to bring my wife home? When do I want this? And if it's sooner, then we must do more to make it happen in that time frame.
So one idea on the speed concept too is the idea of compounding, and I know that's another topic we've talked about a little bit recently. And how does speed affect the compound effect of this business?
Well, when you're doing compound, you're actually moving with speed. Compounding means doing more than is required of you. In this business, you have to be your own boss. So someone may say, hey, show the business, show the plan. That's great. So if somebody shows it one time, but compound is I'm going to show this thing 5 times. So in the nation, we have a saying, press play 5 times a day, keep poverty away. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are doing more. Compound inviting, compound presenting, compound 3 ways. Other words, what I mean by that is, instead of talking to Bob, here's what most people do, Sean. They talk to Bob, and then they get so in love with potential that they stop recruiting and they work with Bob for the whole month. Well, Bob strings them along. Bob tells me he's going to be at the next meeting. He's going to do it. And before they know it, the whole month's gone, and they only talk to Bob. When they should have talked to Bob, and then went on to talk to Sue, and then John and Matthew, and have about 4 or 5 of them for that month with a high goal. Then you'll find out the right one. Like Steve Thompson say, 72-hour rule. 72-hour rule, you're going to know which one deserves your time. And in his book, he says, don't spend too much time with the wrong person. So key to speed and compound is do compound recruiting, then do compound field training. But you want to get that person's list and then, work around that person, because that person's going to quit. You want to get his list before he quits. And you want to be working inside of his list. So Bob brings in Sue. You work with Sue to get her list. Sue brings in Jonathan. Well, now you got something that you can work with. Because how many times have people quit our business, but before they quit, they left somebody who was very valuable to us. That's how we work through speed. And they didn't quit before we got a chance to get the best out of them and help them, and maybe even revise them later on, because now Jonathan's working, Sue wakes up, Bob gets back started again. All that happens from speed. But if you go too slow, before you know it, Bob got disinterested. Bob's, he just kind of said, well, forget it. And you never got a list. You never got anything else out of Bob. Only got 2 customers. Going with speed is the key to maximizing even multiplication in your business.
Yeah. There's an old saying, time kills all deals. And that is so true in this business as well, for sure. So switching gears a little bit, thank you, Kenny. This might play into what we've been talking about, but I know you just have a few minutes left with us. So let me ask you a question. Why do you use Energy Gold Rush?
Wow. Well, I use Energy Gold Rush because it's the best thing out there. It's nothing better. If it was something better, I might use it. It's just nothing better. I mean, I've always thought you had a great deal with Energy Gold Rush. I've always pushed it through the nation. And people ask me all the time, as they ask every great leader, what do I show? What do I show? And I think people give them a lot of options. They say, well, show this, show that, show this, show that. Well, we try to go strictly with Energy Gold Rush. And the reason I love it is because it hits a few points that nothing else does. First of all, it comes on, it's very well done, but it comes on, and if one of the first things it says is that if not for the recent government mandated deregulation. I love that, because now the person heard government. The government's doing something. And right now with the debates going on and everything, people are tied into the government. What's the government gonna do? What's the government got for me? Any plan the government has, I don't know about. So the government perks their ear. Then you have a roll of the newscasts that are coming in. Ambit Energy is doing service over Ambit Energy, Ambit Energy, Ambit Energy. When that happens, that new prospect is thinking, wow, this is a reputable company. Wow, this is a company that has coverage, and I love that part. Then I love the fact that it's real people, real success stories. with the yellow jackets and people that are executives and so forth. And so it just brings credibility to it. When a lot of the other things out there might be done, great videos. I love what corporate's done, but the reason I use this over corporate even is because corporate is has used an actor. I don't know the guy. I ain't never seen him, you know. I'm not saying that that's not a good to use. It's 5 minutes too. When I use speed, I want to use a friend of mine. I want to be able to say to that person I'm sitting down with, "Hey, that's Steve Thompson. Hey, no, hey, that's a friend of mine. I got his number right here in my phone." It's more personal to me to use Energy Gold Rush, and it's so effective. My close ratio, if I show that to 10 people, I'm going to get 3. I know it. Out of the top 3 going to be consultants, and another couple of them are going to be customers. Just the way it is, because you've done such a great job with it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time, Pastor. I know you got to jump on your morning call here with your team, so I greatly appreciate you carving out a bit of your morning for me over coffee. Thank you so much. Any final words you want to leave folks with?
Hey, you know what? I'll say this. Get involved with the new Energy Gold Rush Live. You got to get involved with that because Tuesday nights is home meeting night around the country. And you'll be getting links and more about that too. But we're just getting started with that. We love it. We peeked into a few home meetings. Guys, if you can't go to a meeting, make a meeting and use it Energy Gold Rush Live.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. Until next time.